What is going on, everybody? Out in the garage today by myself. Figure I'd work on this stereo stuff while I had a chance. So I've talked about this in a prior video, but I have this modular stereo Pioneer thing. Hello. Which the touchscreen is detached from the head unit, which is inside there right now. So I need to build some kind of adapter thing where I can get this thing mounted up here and get this thing mounted in here. I stuck the head unit in there a long time ago. It's just been sitting in there. I don't think there's any good way to mount that in there. Because, this is designed for the two-post stereo, as you can see, and I don't feel like carving this thing up and doing that whole thing. So what my plan is, I want to make basically a bracket for the head unit with two bolts coming out this way that come through the two posts there, that then I can lock it in place here and hold it there, and then I will have another plate that goes on the front of that this attaches to. And since that all has to go into place first, this thing will be held on by magnets. I think that'll work. And I just need some support for this to hold this in place so it doesn't slide around, but the magnets are certainly strong enough to hold it there. So the first thing I need to figure out is that bracket that goes around the stereo head unit there, and figure that out. So I'm going to try and see how this thing lays out in here. If I shove this all the way up to the front, is there something down here that it sits on, or what? It's just kind of laying down on the bottom there right now. So let me get that figured out here. I'll see if I can get you on a tripod in here and bring you along. All right, so hopefully you can see there. Where'd my flashlight go? All right, on the other side of the car here. I don't know if this is going to be easier or harder, but it'll be better for filming. So, head unit here. Slide this up. This doesn't fit as nice. I thought this would be able to come up kind of here somewhere, which I guess it still might be able to. We've got the AC lines and stuff in here, which is kind of a pain. So we could keep it low like this where it is. I think that's fine. That actually anchors it on the bottom. That's actually probably not a bad idea. So it can sit kind of flattish there. So the bracket would need to sit hidden here. Sitting right there. There's a couple of piece of plastic or something it's hitting on here. Not sure what. What it's hitting. Oh, right there. Okay, so there's a couple of plastic protrusions right here that it hits, which holds it in place there, which is fine. It can slide in here okay, and then it's resting on the metal bar that goes across here, so that's not a bad place for it right there. So let me get some stuff here so we can take some measurements and figure out what we need to do here. I wish you could see how I'm all cramped in here, but alright, so we've got our handy dandy, what are these things called? Calipers? I'm not sure what they're called. Things. So if we measure, I gotta figure out what I need to measure here. I need to measure kind of where the top of the stereo is, which is too low. That's going to be a challenge. Figure this out. There's the top of the stereo right there. Come on. It's sticky. That's no good. Let's measure it from here. That's a better idea. It's a little asymmetric, it looks like. Let that relax a little bit. Okay, so that's that far back to the stereo there, which is 1.3 inches. 1.3 inches. So that gets from the faceplate here to the face of this thing here. Which I guess is all I need for that, right? I can take all the other measurements from here. So this, interesting, I didn't notice this before. This post is further back than that post. That's kind of curious. Why that would be, I don't know. So I need to take the measurements to the back of these. I think that's all I really need, is to know basically where the front of this thing can go, which is basically the faceplate of this, or the face of this, and then where those end up back here. And we measure all that out. All right, I think I got all this measured out here. So from the faceplate here to the inside edge there is 0.38. From here back to the inside of that one is 0.78. And then I measured from here to the back side of that is 0.95 and 0.52. And I tried to measure these offsets here. It's a little tricky. So that first one is 0.37, and then it's 0.57, 0.6 basically to this edge here, I think. Something like that. The stereo itself will not cover up this part, but it will cover up the bottom part here. So part of all of this is, of course, to figure out where I want to set this. If I set it like right centered on these two, it just covers up those posts that will be coming out, so that's probably okay. I think that's all right. And then the 1.3 inches on the bottom here is where it bumps into the thing down here, where it can't come any further forward. So that's how far back the thing needs to be. So basic idea here then is we have some kind of bracket, don't know exactly what yet, but something like this. We'll have 2 1/4 by 20 threaded rods coming out, something like that. And then the side brackets here, hopefully I can use the ones that came with the stereo. So the stereo will sit in here like this, and then hopefully I can screw this directly into the sides like that. So this might just be a straight piece of metal here, and then I weld on those other pieces, or maybe I just make a piece and round it around the corners and then use those things as templates to figure out where those things need to go. So that all needs to be figured out. I do need the width. I don't have that. I gotta take the measurements there though. Okay, first problem avoided. This thing is wider than the points on the 2 posts, so that's good. Hang on. This thing, maximum width is basically what that is. So the post would be right here. So that works. So I think that is just about perfect. So let me look at the brackets on the side here and figure out how they work, and we'll go from there. All right, so this bracket here Looks like I can line up on these two holes right here, potentially more. Looks like that one and that one line up right there, which puts this just basically flush with the front. I can bend these tabs out of the way, and then I can actually, that needs to be a little further forward. Let's see if I can line up another one here. I need to have room for the back of the bolts. So that one, I think these are, let me get the screws out, but I think that'll work. And then that gives me enough room for the bolt head to weld it onto the back of the thing there. Let me get the bolts and see if that works. Yeah, that works, but I don't understand the logic of this. These are both threaded, so you can't put this in and have this thing locked down. When you have two things that are threaded, that doesn't work, so I'm not quite sure how you're supposed to use these things in that context. Maybe these are supposed to, these clips are supposed to clip into something or what? I don't understand that, but that's fine. It's probably easier just to bend a piece of metal around that corner anyway than welding these things on there, so I can just use these for the bolt holes. So now that I know which to work, so I need to get a piece of metal that would bend around this corner. Let's get that set up. Okay, I measured how far from the bottom here up to where the holes are. It's about 2 3/4, or the post would need to be. It's about 2 3/4. So I set this guy at 3 inches. I'll put a mark here. Try to put a mark here. Something like that. And then the sides here need to go around also about 3 inches. So just keep that at 3 inches. Thereabouts. So we need a 3-inch here. I can't measure the width of this, so we'll just use this as the measure. Plus I'll put that right on the edge. Why not? Okay, and that's right there. I have this edge I cut from something else before. I don't know what it was for. It's not big enough. I can't reach that. So I'll have to put a straight edge on that and mark that line. One of these days I need to clean up in here. You know, when you have a few minutes to spend in the shop, you don't want to spend it cleaning. I'm not the only one that has that problem. Again. Did I mark that? Thought I did. Let's see the mark. Make sure I have those marks in the right place. Yep. Okay. Ow. Need that mark a little stronger. All right, there we go. These metal edges are sharp. Okay, so I need to cut that line, and then those are my 2 bend points. I'm going to try to cut these with snips. I hate snips, but I don't really feel like firing up the compressor right now, so I'll start with snips. I probably should have used a cutoff wheel for that, but got that done. Then I took these guys, and these are the 2 holes I was using. And I lined up the brake line right there across these 2. Get this centered up if you can see. Like that. Down the center there, and then marked where those 2 holes are. Did the same on both sides. So I will drill these out, and then I can do the bend. I have to put it in the car to figure out where I want the dots, the post to be. I can guesstimate it, it's at 2 3/4, but I'd rather have it on the money so I know where it's going to go. Because I can put the stereo in there and make sure it's sitting right at the bottom. So I just checked this as well to make sure that, bring it down a little bit here. Check to make sure that this wouldn't be bottoming out. The stereo would be sitting down below this, I think. And we'll find out if that's true or not when we get there. This is also 22 gauge sheet metal, which might be too thin. If this thing's flopping around in there, I may have to revisit that. Hopefully it'll be okay. I don't feel like getting into heavy metal work right now. There's no finger in there. Don't get excited. This is a 3/16 strobit. I have no idea what size these bolts are. 3 something, I don't know, they're pretty small. To the vise here. And of course it won't fit. I need a bigger vise. See something here, hang on a minute. I have a set of the sheet metal brakes, but I don't know where they are. So I'm just going to do this on the edge of the table. This doesn't need to be a precision affair. We can get this close enough here. Second one's going to be a little trickier. I guess parts for my metal fabrication. I think it'll work. See how square we got it. Hey, look at that. There's money. All right. Clean up these burrs. We'll see how we did. Out. Does not seem quite right. I made a mistake there somewhere. These holes go out. Let me try and figure out what I did wrong here. So, I got one hole lined up, but the other one is not even close to being correct. What did I do wrong there? The right size. Okay, no big deal. Just got to drill another hole because that one's not in the right place. All right, so that's that. I can trim these things back, get them out of the way once I figure out what needs to go. So I'm going to see if I can insert this back up on the dash and then mark the holes where we want to put the bolts. All right, so we trim the sides back. I'm going to file this in a minute, clean it up, then punch the 2 holes where I think those need to go. Need to open these up for a 1/4 by 20. So this is a 5/16. Some sample bolts here. I'm not really sure what size I'm going to need, but the idea is something like that, and then we'll weld them in place. But for now, I'll put a nut on there to hold them in place, and I'll stick them up in there and see how it fits. Yeah, those are actually pretty much perfect. So rather than welding these things, I think I'm just going to Loctite them. I think that will be fine. Shouldn't go anywhere. I'm going to have these, they're going to be locked down pretty tight, pun intended. I don't think they're going to go anywhere, but I was thinking of welding them originally just because, why not? We'll just lock these guys down here. So the one on the right here butts up against that inside panel that we were looking at. The one on the left, I'll need a nut here to space it out so it doesn't go anywhere. Remember that piece on the right stuck out further than the one on the left. Yeah. And of course, I can't find another 7/16 wrench. Just how it goes. upside down, but that will go anywhere. So we will put another nut here like we talked about. I got these low profile nuts, forget what they're called. Let's see if it's labeled on there. What are these? Jam nuts, that's right, jam nuts. So this guy will go on here. We'll put a washer on it, and then when it's in the dash, we'll figure out the in and out where this one needs to be, and then we'll put another nut on the front, which will lock it down, and then that thing's not going to go anywhere. All right, so we'll put the, let's see, can we put the stereo in now? I'm a little hesitant to put it in permanently because I don't have all the wiring done yet. Let's just see if we can get it in there, and then we'll go from there. There we go, just like that. Sorry for the flicker from this thing, but got the two posts sticking out there. This one's kind of in the right place now, I think. I think that's good. So that's half the battle. That one might need to be adjusted a little bit. I think even the screw lengths or the bolts are the right size. They stick out just about enough. So that pretty much takes care of that side of things. So next time we have to build the next plate that sits here that actually holds the face plate, the touchscreen. So we'll pick that up on the next one. Okay, we are back. I'm working on the pattern for this next piece here. So I basically set this in so that it sits right inside that recess there, a little bit short of the top here so it doesn't bind up. And I'll show you all the rest of this in a second. I just want to see that fits in there. And I made it, when I was looking at it, I realized these are going to be showing. So I made another pattern here to completely fill the opening. Got to round these corners off. It'll be inset a little bit. Maybe I can make it a little bit big and then tune it. But that basically would sit in there like that kind of thing, right? So that's all one piece of metal. I just drew it in two pieces, right? So something like that. So you won't be able to see the stuff behind there. And then let me show you how this works with the touchscreen. All right, so here's the touchscreen. The idea here is this thing is going to sit on the back of this thing like this. See, that panel is going to come around the bottom. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. So this piece is inset into the dash as we talked about. This piece sits out like so, and then I will put magnets on these faces here, 1, 2, 3, 4, which will lock this thing into place. And then this thing on the bottom will keep it from sliding around, and there's also these small little recesses right here, so I'll make a little tab that goes around the corner. This thing I probably won't make this big. I'll probably just notch out a little piece on the bottom because you don't need all that anchor there. I think that will work. And that will, the magnets are really tiny. They're around here somewhere. But they're like just a millimeter or two thick. So this thing will be sticking off of this plate just a little bit. So I don't need to make these parts this wide. I can narrow this down, and then I have just this one piece that's wide there basically to cover up the opening. And then I guess I do want this to be wide so that I can pull in that little corner there, or I can bring it down here or something. I'll figure that out. And the top doesn't really matter. I can cut this back. Now the problem, of course, with all of this is once I have the stereo mounted there and I've got the nuts in pulling that thing in against the dash, I don't have any way to anchor anything else to it. So I could screw something into the back of this. It's obviously got all the little mounting screws and stuff, but there's no way for me to attach those screws because everything's together already. So that's the idea of the magnets. Basically, is just taste this thing and go and just stick it on there and hopefully it'll stay in place. So let me tune this up a little bit and then we'll be ready to bend it out of some metal. All right, that was fun. Got that guy. Doesn't look too bad. And you're not going to see most of this. Just these outer edges there are really going to be the only thing you're going to see. So I made this side a little bit proud so I can knock it back a little bit. So I need to drill the holes for the posts, which I covered up, but they're here. Get those drilled in there, and then I'll put the first 2 bends in here, and then I can start fitting it in there and getting these corners the way that I want it. All right, so once again, my vise is just a little too small. Wait, maybe that'll fit. Oh, it does fit. Okay, good. That little cutout came in handy. So I need to fold this right on that line, which you can't see, but I can. I believe that's. I want the line visible here, so that hopefully the back end of the line is more lined up with the bottom end of the line, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'm gonna try. This won't give me a perfect bend, but it'll get most of the way there. I think that's right. Okay. Sorry, am I right in your way there? Something to that effect. I don't think that bent quite straight, but it's nice and strong. Sorry, camera's upside down here. I can't see what I'm doing. So that should be okay. And then these guys should be pretty simple. So do I want to do these bends first? I won't be able to do these bends, can I? This is a double bend here, so I need to bend this one over and this one over. So bend that one over first, then I won't be able to get that one in the vise, I don't think. It's just about the size I need. I can get them started, I guess. Let's do that. So we'll get the bends started so we know where they are. If that works. Oh, what I wouldn't do to have a nice metal break. Come on. Let go. Yeah, the first break didn't really help. Okay. Okay, I'm going to round these corners off a little bit here because I know they need to be a little bit rounded. It really wants to bite. Yeah. I think this thing's got this too big, didn't I? Yeah. So I need to file that side down anyway. Let me do that first. Okay, I've got that kind of sorted out now. I need ironically, a finer file. It's really hard to file the edge of sheet metal like this. Here. I should have done this first, but I wasn't thinking. Anyway, I was going to round off those four corners. All right, that required just a small amount of tuning. It's not great. I'll clean up that bottom corner over there to straighten it up. You can see there maybe. That one's not so straight. So I can fine tune it, but I think it's bent a little bit over in this corner. Yeah, I can't straighten it. So that looks good. So now we've got to get the next bend in to bend this panel down and those tabs down. Now we're getting pretty close. All right, so I haven't been filming a lot because it's just been a lot of tuning on this thing. The fit up here wasn't as nice as I thought. I thought it was sitting all the way down in there, but it wasn't, so I ended up having to trim quite a bit off it to get it fit down there. But I have all that done. I just bent the bottom tab up there, and I'm getting ready to do the little side tabs to hold the side pieces in. I just tested the magnets and stuff. That works, so I'll show you that in a second. But let me get these side pieces ready, and then the whole thing will be ready to cradle down in there. All right, there we go. So got these little guys in the corner that hold them from the side, that bottom piece. I should have made this wider. I chopped it down because I think I didn't need that much there, but it could rock a little bit here, so it would have been better to make that bigger. These things I think will hold it in place, but if they flex out a little bit, that's going to be a problem. So you can see the magnets in here. It's pretty hard to take apart once to stay together. So I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Let's set it in the car, see how it looks. This is really quite tricky. Anyway, there you can see. So we will put a longer bolt on there. That one's not long enough. I'm going to put a nut and a washer to hold that in place. Paint it all black. Hopefully you won't notice it. I could have slid the stereo over a little further this way to hide that, but then you'll be able to see it more on this side. So either way, it's about the same. But that's pretty good. And now the big test is, does the shifter hit it? Ooh, that's close. But does not. Anybody has a good... Hang on a second. While we're on the topic, if anybody knows a good, inexpensive, short, angled shifter here, or where to get one, that would be greatly helpful. I don't really need a straight shifter here. I'd like it to angle back, and then that would give me more room there anyway. Unrelated, but related. Anywho, so that does it for the fabrication of this thing. So I got to clean it up now, get it painted, get it all installed. But hopefully you can see now that once I put the screws in here to lock this thing in place, I don't have any access to come around the back and put bolts or anything in, right? Hence the reason why the magnets of this thing just goes. So it's pretty stable. Yeah. Maybe if I slam on the brakes too hard or hit the gas way too hard, it'll come apart, but you can always put more magnets in it. You can put a whole slew of them back here. I only have 4 holding it on. These are neodymiums or whatever. Seems pretty sturdy. So, all right. So we'll bring it back next time when we clean it all up. All right, we've got this guy masked up here, so we're going to put some SEM texture coating on here to give this a little bit of a finish. I was originally thinking of putting some primer and filler on here and all that stuff and smoothing it all out, but I don't think I'm going to bother with that. It's pretty good for the most part. There's some little dents and things in here, but I think I can cover that up with the texture paint. The masking tape is where the magnets go, so I'm not going to put the texture paint there. And then when I'm done with that, that leaves a flat black coating. I'll put maybe just one coat of the Landau black, because this is a satin black. Excuse me. And put a little bit of shine to it, but not too much. So we'll give that a try. And we'll get the texture coating here. Try to film this if I can one-handed here. This stuff tends to splat a little bit, so typically want to start it. That's an interesting fan. Start it off the piece and then move it on. Like that big blob right there you saw, maybe. See, does stuff like that. Yeah, I'll put 3 coats of this probably. Actually, I think 1 coat is going to be enough. I don't really think I need any more texture than that. You can see a little splotched in the corner there, which sucks. But the rest of it looks pretty good. There's some bare spots, but I'm going to go over that with the color coat, so you won't be able to see it. I'd like to get some more on these corners here. You can't. I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to worry about that. Yeah, I'll just leave that. So let's just dry for a couple of minutes here. It dries pretty fast, and then we'll get the color coat on there. Because you can see as it's drying here, it's a very flat black, so I don't want it that flat. I don't want it shiny either to highlight where the dents are and stuff. I can see the little dent right there in the corner. All right, there we go. Well, that didn't work. Touch that up. I don't think you'll be able to see that anyway, but so that's all good. So that came out pretty nice. So it's got a little bit of a sheen, but not too much. Painted the back as well. And then I also painted a couple of fender washers here that will go there. So hopefully you won't see them. They'll get scuffed up, I'm sure, when I install it. But let me, I was wondering how well the SEM paint would stick to bare metal. It doesn't stick very well, so it seems. So I'll spray something on that just to cover those up. Doesn't really matter though, like I said. And that's it. All right, so we're going to do a quick wire up here. I'm not going to connect everything yet, but at least get my connectors on here. So I wired this thing before that the power connector. I was going to have the head unit in the trunk, so I put a big extension to run the power back there. So I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need that. And then I have the wires here that theoretically I need. This one is to go to the instrument lights. This one is reverse gear. This one is the remote switch for the amp, and then this one's for the parking brake. I don't know what the parking brake one does. The manual says some things won't operate correctly if you don't have it connected. The manual also says it's supposed to go to the hot side of the power brake switch, which I don't quite understand that because, well, mine anyway is a grounding connector, and the picture they show in the book is connected to ground, so it's not really hot, but not the grounded side. But I'm not going to mess with that right now. I tested the head unit before, it seemed to work, so there's probably some function that won't work, but whatever. Anyway, so we have 4 wires here that I care about. All the rest of these wires are the speaker wires, the high-level speaker wires, which I'm not using. And then this one is for the speed control, which I don't even know how that works, so same thing, I'm just going to leave that disconnected. So I'm going to cap all of these off, put heat shrink on them, forget about them. And then for these guys, I've got 4, so I'll put another one of these on here with 4 connectors. And then I'll move that connector closer up. And let's see where I spliced it in right here, so I'll probably just put it like right there somewhere. And just leave that, other than the remote for the amp that I'll hook up right now, but everything else, all these other things I'll just leave off for now until I know what I'm doing with those. I just poked around under the dash there, and I finished up all the wiring up under there, so it's pretty hard. But the reverse switch is in there somewhere, but it's all loomed up and stuff. And then the parking brake, the connector for that, I made it too short, so it won't reach the switch on the the actual parking brake. So I need to extend that. When I do that, I'll splice into it at the same time. So that's what I'm gonna do for now. Just redo these connections here, and then I'll just, like I said, just leave all that other stuff off for now. I just snipped all of these to the same length. And just use my wire strippers here to pull a little bit of them off. Doesn't need a lot. Like so. Okay. And now I always have to try to remind myself which one of these connectors go where. So these are the female, I think. These guys. And these are for the 22 to 20 gauge. I also have bigger ones if I need them, but these are all pretty small, so these will be fine. So the way that I do these, which I don't know if it's the right way or not. Where's my jumpers? I do, which side I use here. I want to say I'm using this one, but let's give it a try. So crimp the wire part first. Yeah, that's definitely not the right one. This one. So hopefully you can see that. Yeah, that one didn't work very well. Put that back in there and give it a better squeeze. Of course, you also put the insulation needs to be crimped too, but I'll just do this guy here. I'll lock that guy down good. Yep, okay. And then do the insulation. I think I need the big one for that. So, yep, you see that? Okay, and let's do all of those. Alright, so once we have all those done, we just slide these things into the connectors. Again, I haven't done these in a while. I've got to try and remember which way is up. That way was up. I'll do the purple one. And you can hear they snap into place nicely. Now, since this is inside the car, I'm not going to bother putting all the weather stripping and stuff and all that on there. Obviously, you can do that too. Okay. So that's all nice and secure now. So now I'll just cap all of these wires off because I don't care. I just take a little piece of heat shrink there. Cut these in half. These are too big. These are the ones with the insulating goo on them. So just cut it up, run it past the end of the wire like that, and then just pinch it off, and that's how I do it. All right, so I've got all of those guys covered up, and I've got a piece of power braid here. Hope this is big enough to fit all that stuff in there. Find out, I guess. I have the little tool to install that stuff, but I don't know where it is, so I'm going to go looking for it right now. Let's try and see if we can fake it. Like so. I don't know how much of this is going to be visible. It's all tucked up under the dash, but you never know. So try and cover it up as much as possible. So you won't see it. Got this way too long, it looks like. Pink wires being a pain in the rear. Out. Do that one separate. Okay, so get all of those guys tucked in there. Tuck in that pink one. Don't really need to leave that label on there, but who knows? Maybe someday someone will thank me for that. There. Okay. And get some electrical tape. Cover all that up. All of the electrical tape that I use on the car is the cloth-based stuff, not the cheap plastic stuff. Does that matter? I don't know. Oh, I need a sharper razor blade. This thing is dull. Okay, let's cover that up. Let go. Let go. Only filming action shots here because otherwise there won't be much to this video, I think, for this part. It'll be over. Okay, something like that. And then we'll do the other end, and that's that. Alright, we talked about this before in another video, but this is the painless wire for the fuel pump, which didn't work for some reason. I never bothered trying to figure out why. Not sure how it's supposed to work, but just never had any power, so I don't know what the story was. I ran a separate line here for my fuel pump. So this line is unused, so I'm just going to trace this one back, cut it off, seal the end of it, and then I'll use this for the remote turn on for the amp. So this new, I gotta double check, but I'm pretty sure the blue and white one here is a remote turn on. So I'll make a connector that connects those two, and that's all I should need to connect up right now in order to power up the stereo. Alright, so if you can see this way down here, so I capped that off with heat shrink and electrical tape. I spliced this guy in here. So ran a blue wire all the way around up under here, you can see. I only connected that one connector, but that's the only one that I need for now, which I hopefully put it in the right place. Blue to blue, yep. And then I rewired power connector here. Same thing, hopefully I got those right. Red, yellow, black, yep. Okay, so this harness is done. Now on the back of the stereo, that guy goes here. Then we have the low level stuff here. So this is going to get us all the stuff going back to the amp. So we have front and rear outputs here. Subwoofer here. One of these is the camera, second camera input, rear monitor output. Oh, there we go, rear view camera in. So what I'm going to do is I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I only need one subwoofer connector, so I'll just use one. And then I have one left over, which I'll use for the camera. Since my harness from the back here has 6 connectors in them, so I don't need, I have one extra. Do that. Then we have the Bluetooth microphone connector. And there's also, I didn't realize this, it has a GPS antenna on it. I'm not sure I need this. I'm not sure I'm ever planning on using the GPS in the device. So I'm not quite sure what to do with this. I think I'll wire it and just stick it up under the carpet or something, so that it's there in case I want to wire it up. And then that, and there's also, sorry, USB-C connector here. So I'll get all this stuff plugged in, then I can stick the stereo up in there for hopefully the last time. Put it all together, and the antenna here. And then this is for the display here that comes out the front. I should cover this up, make this a little less scratchy, so I won't cut into this. And that should do it. We should be able to put everything in there. So let me get all the wiring attached, and then we'll get ready to install it. Man, that's quite a mess. There's a lot of wires. I hope I can hide all of those up under there. And there's one connector here. I don't know what it's for, but you can reach this stuff around the back if time comes. Yeah, and then there's also an aux input on here that I might decide to wire up someday, but again, same thing, I think you'll be able to reach it from there. So that's everything, and I just put some electrical tape along this edge here to protect this. Again, this guy here needs to come out the front when I do this. All right, I'm gonna try and jam it up in there. It's probably not gonna be fun, so I'll bring you along. Well, that wasn't too awful, assuming no wires came unplugged in the process. So, I gotta get the faceplate on now, and hopefully everything works. All right, there we go. I painted some washers black there, and put some nylocks on there to hold it in there, and I think it's pretty sturdy. As long as it doesn't rattle around in there or something. So that should be good to go. I can come back and paint those nuts and stuff later to hide it, but let's put the stereo in there and see if it fits. And there we have it. The cable went in the back. I should have test fit that before. That was really tight in there, but it does fit. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. It seems in there pretty good. So I'm going to hook up the battery here, or see if this thing turns on. Well, there we go. That all seems to work. Like I said, I don't know what the parking brake one does. I've got to figure that out. I don't know what anything does on this thing. I haven't really played with it. HD radio. My antenna, unfortunately, you can see the windshield has the antenna in it, but the connection on the windshield is broken, so I don't know if I can fix it or not, but I'll try. This thing's not picking up anything here though, but maybe that's not surprising. Maybe it is. I don't have any speakers hooked up, so I can't tell. Anyway, looks like it all worked. We'll have to connect the speakers and everything to see if it actually does anything, but we'll save that for another time. So, call that victory.